35 years ago, the world fell in love with a fairy tale on the streets of Beverly Hills. A young woman with a radiant smile and a fearless spirit walked into a man's carefully built life, and nothing was ever the same again. That love story, full of charm, humor, and heart, became more than a movie. It became a dream, and now, after decades, the dream whispers again. What if their story wasn't finished? What if fate decided to turn one more page? Darkness. Soft piano notes begin, delicate and familiar, echoing the melody of "It Must Have Been Love." The screen remains black for a long moment, holding the audience in silence. Slowly, white letters fade in against the darkness. 35 years ago, a love story captured the world. The words dissolve, replaced by flickering images, conceptual, faceless visuals that spark memory without showing any real footage. A pair of red high heels clicking against a Beverly Hills sidewalk. A limousine door opening under the glow of streetlights. A glamorous hotel lobby bathed in golden light. A flash of a wide, dazzling smile. Not a face, just the suggestion of it. An echo of the moment the world first saw Vivian. The music swells gently, layering strings under the piano. A male voice, calm, rich, and thoughtful, cuts through the sound. It began as chance. A night, a meeting, two lives colliding in a city that never sleeps. But some stories don't end where we think they do. The visuals quicken. We see the outline of a man standing at the edge of a balcony, high above the city. He looks older, his posture marked by years of weight and wisdom, but there is still strength in his frame. He is faceless, timeless, but clearly Edward, in his hand a glass of wine. Beyond him, Los Angeles glitters like a sea of memories. Cut to the street below, Vivian walking with quiet confidence. Her red heels are back, but this time they carry a different meaning. No longer a symbol of escape, they are a mark of independence. She walks past a glowing storefront window, the light spilling over her as if the city itself admires her presence. She does not look back. The voiceover continues. Edward, a man who built an empire of deals and decisions. Vivian, a woman who built a life of her own. Once their worlds collided in a way no one expected. Once love rewrote the rules. The music shifts, more strings, deeper, more dramatic. A limousine door slams shut. A runway light flickers on, illuminating a stage. A hotel bell rings, sharp and clear. Each sound is a memory, stitched into the fabric of the story. We see a faceless silhouette of Vivian standing under bright lights, speaking to a group of women at what seems like a charity event. Her hands gesture with passion, her stance firm and full of purpose. She has grown, she has risen, and the world around her recognizes it. Cut quickly to Edward shaking hands in a boardroom. The scene is clean, polished, but the look on his faceless outline hints at something missing. Success has weight, but it does not fill the space love once did. The screen fades to black once again, and a whisper of Julia's iconic laugh echoes faintly, carried like a memory through the darkness. Then the voiceover returns, softer now, almost reflective. It was more than just a love story. It was a moment in time. And now time asks a question: what if their story isn't over? The music builds again, stronger this time, swelling towards something bigger, something grand. Quick flashes appear. The Beverly Wilshire Hotel glowing under the night sky. A limousine pulling up to a red carpet. A bouquet of roses falling to the ground. Vivian's heels clicking on marble floors. Edward turning as though he hears her voice, then silence. The screen fades to black, and in bold golden letters the words appear: Pretty Woman 2, 2025. The piano plays its final soft notes, lingering just long enough for the audience to feel the pull of nostalgia. Then the sound cuts, a beat of silence. Finally, Julia's laugh again, soft, joyful, and unforgettable. The screen opens with the hum of the city. Los Angeles alive, glowing, restless. Its streets are crowded with cars and dreams, neon lights spilling across wet pavement. The camera glides upward, climbing the towering glass walls of a modern skyscraper until it reaches the top floor, where a man stands alone. His silhouette is sharp against the vast city skyline. He is older now, shoulders slightly heavier, hair touched by time. He holds himself with the posture of someone who has carried the weight of power for decades. This is Edward. He does not speak. He only stares, his reflection caught in the glass, two versions of him overlapping. One the titan of business the world knows, the other a man staring at the empty spaces of his own life. The soft hum of a cello begins under the silence, and the voiceover cuts in. Edward Lewis. A man who had it all until he realized that all was never enough. A quick flash, his hand running over papers in a boardroom, men and women shaking his hand, congratulating him, applauding him. Another flash, his hand lowering a pen, hesitating over a contract. His face is hidden, but the hesitation is visible in his posture. The applause fades into silence, swallowed by the city noise outside. Cut. The screen shifts to a quieter setting. A charity center filled with warm lights, people chatting, laughter mixing with the clinking of glasses. On the stage, a woman speaks with passion and grace, her gestures fluid, her voice carrying conviction. This is Vivian. Time has not dimmed her light. It has only sharpened it, where once she was searching for her place in the world. Now she commands the room. She smiles, faceless yet unmistakably radiant, her laugh filling the air as others lean in to listen. Vivian Ward. She once walked into a story written by chance, but she chose to write her own ending. The visuals show her shaking hands with young women offering encouragement, a ribbon being cut at the opening of a new foundation wing. A magazine cover flashes briefly, her outline gracing it under the headline, From Dreamer to Leader. She is no longer a woman defined by where she came from, but by what she has built. The cello deepens, layered with piano now. The screen splits, Edward in his sterile, pristine office, Vivian in a room filled with warmth and laughter. Two worlds, still different, still separate, but tied together by an invisible thread. The voiceover whispers, once love pulled them into each other's orbit, but time pushed them apart. We see Edward at a long dinner table seated among colleagues, but he is silent, staring at the empty chair beside him. The camera cuts to Vivian in her kitchen, laughing with friends, but for a brief moment she looks out the window as if searching for something. The joy lingers, but her silence says more than her smile. The montage quickens. Edward alone on his balcony at dawn. Vivian crossing a busy street in New York, her heels striking the pavement with confidence. Edward seated in the back of a limousine, his reflection fractured in the tinted glass. Vivian pulling open the doors of her foundation, children running toward her with open arms. The music swells with violins now, a rising tension that builds into something more hopeful. Quick flashes begin to layer over each other, Edward reaching for a phone, then setting it back down. Vivian opening a letter and pausing, her breath caught. Edward standing before a mirror, straightening his tie but faltering for a second. Vivian slipping into a red gown, fastening an earring, her face unseen but her presence undeniable. The screen fades to black. Then, with sudden brilliance, a spotlight cuts across a ballroom. The sound of applause, soft at first, then louder. A gala is underway, luxurious, elegant, filled with music and champagne. People dance under glittering chandeliers. Among the crowd, two silhouettes move in opposite directions. One man, older, dignified. One woman, confident, radiant. Their paths almost touch, but at the last second they pass each other by. The voiceover returns, firm and full of weight. They built their lives. They found their places. But destiny is not finished with them yet. The screen holds the moment, a man and woman walking past each other just inches apart. The music drops into silence as they both pause, sensing something. Edward turns slowly. Vivian's heels stop clicking. The camera holds on their outlines as the silence stretches, heavy with the echo of years gone by. Fade to black. The faint sound of a heartbeat pulses, steady and strong, carrying the story forward. The heartbeat sound continues, echoing softly in the darkness. It grows louder, sharper, until it blends with the rising hum of city traffic. Then the screen cuts back into life. Vivian steps onto a stage, the lights bright against her silhouette. A banner behind her reads, Ward Foundation Annual Gala. She speaks, animated and graceful, her hands moving with conviction. Around her, an audience of hundreds watches with admiration. She is no longer the woman searching for identity. She is the woman who gives others their voice. The camera lingers on the faces of the crowd, young women, hopeful, inspired. A man in a sharp suit claps proudly. A reporter scribbles notes. Flashbulbs pop, catching Vivian in starlight. Then just as the applause peaks, the screen cuts to Edward, alone in his office. The glow of his laptop illuminates him in the dark. A contract lies open, the numbers enormous, the stakes even larger. He leans back in his chair, his face hidden in shadow, his outline tense. The voiceover cuts in, grave and deliberate. For Edward, every deal was a victory. But this one could cost him everything. The visuals shift again. A headline appears briefly on a faceless newspaper. Billionaire Lewis faces career-defining merger. Another flash. Television news clips with faceless anchors speaking about him. The weight of his empire is suddenly clear. Yet in each scene the camera holds just a little longer on his hesitation. The deal promises riches, but it also threatens something deeper, his chance at peace. The music begins to build, the cello darkening into a rumble. Vivian walks through the crowd at her gala, smiling, shaking hands, her presence magnetic. Suddenly her smile falters. Across the room a figure has entered. The camera follows the faceless outline of Edward as he makes his way into the ballroom, his tuxedo crisp, his steps measured but uncertain. For a moment everything slows. The crowd blurs, the noise fades, and the only sound left is the echo of footsteps. The voiceover whispers. Decades later, two lives cross again. Not by chance, not by design, but by something neither of them can escape. The montage ignites. Edward and Vivian standing at opposite ends of the gala, eyes locking across the room. A champagne glass slipping from someone's hand in slow motion, crashing to the floor. Paparazzi cameras flashing outside, eager for a glimpse of the unexpected reunion. Vivian turning away sharply, her heels striking like a drumbeat. Edward reaching out, his hand hovering in the air before it falls. The music rises into tension, strings quickening like racing hearts. Vivian leaves the gala, her silhouette framed by the city lights. Outside, photographers shout, their bulbs flashing like lightning. Edward follows, but the crowd swallows him. The screen cuts to black again, but this time the silence is heavy, uneasy. The voiceover deepens. She built her strength from independence. He built his power from control. Now fate demands they face the one thing they both left unfinished, each other. A flurry of fast emotional images. Vivian in her office late at night, her hands gripping the edge of a desk, her face turned away in frustration. Edward in his limousine, staring out the window as rain streaks across the glass. Vivian refusing a call, the phone buzzing on her desk. Edward stopping in the middle of a boardroom, distracted by a thought he cannot push away. The music softens, shifting to piano. Vivian walks through her charity center, watching young girls laugh and chatter, their hope a mirror of who she once was. Edward, meanwhile, sits in his penthouse, staring at an old photograph, faceless, blurred, but clear enough for the audience to know. He presses the frame flat against the desk, as if trying to press down the memories themselves. Then, with a sudden swell, the montage quickens again, a heated conversation at the gala's balcony, Vivian turning sharply as Edward pleads. A limousine door slamming shut. Vivian stepping into a red gown, tears in her eyes but her smile determined. Edward at a press conference, cameras flashing, his posture proud but his expression hollow. The two of them standing inches apart in a rain-soaked street, neither moving, the silence between them louder than any storm. The voiceover returns, firm and echoing. Love gave them a beginning. Time gave them distance. Now destiny gives them a choice. The music erupts into orchestral force, violins soaring, drums pounding. The screen shows Edward reaching for Vivian's hand, but just as his fingers nearly touch hers, the image freezes. The sound cuts off. Silence. On the black screen, white letters appear. What if the one you let go was the only one you were meant to keep? A single heartbeat echoes once more. The heartbeat fades, replaced by the slow, steady hum of strings. The screen opens with a raindrop sliding down a window pane, distorted city lights flickering behind it. A limousine pulls into view, headlights cutting through the night. Inside, Edward sits in silence, his hand resting on his knee, the weight of decades pressing on his shoulders. He stares ahead, not at the city, but at a memory that refuses to let him go. Cut. Vivian stands before a mirror in a quiet hotel suite. Her silhouette glows in the reflection, framed by the soft golden light of the room. She lifts a necklace, fastening it slowly, deliberately. Her red gown flows around her, the same shade that once made her unforgettable, but now it carries new meaning. Power, self-respect, fire. She pauses, fingers brushing the edge of the glass as though she sees not only herself but the woman she once was, smiling back. For a moment she laughs softly, that familiar sound echoing across years, but then her expression hardens. She is no longer a dreamer waiting for rescue. She has become her own story. The music builds, soft piano layered with violins, weaving nostalgia with anticipation. The voiceover cuts in, low and measured. Some fairy tales fade, but some wait for the right moment to return. The visuals accelerate. Edward enters the grand ballroom, chandeliers blazing, music swelling from a live orchestra. Vivian descends the staircase on the opposite side, her gown trailing, her steps steady. The crowd parts, their faces turning toward her as if the universe itself acknowledges her arrival. Their eyes meet across the room. This time neither looks away. Flash. Cameras fire, paparazzi shouting from outside. A flurry of images. Edward giving a fiery speech at a press conference, his words echoing with conviction. Vivian addressing a crowd of supporters, her voice passionate and unshaken. Their voices overlap, creating a dialogue of determination and heart. This is not about power. This is about love, about truth, about what matters most. The montage quickens, each image sharper, more urgent. Vivian pulling away from Edward in a heated argument, her hand trembling. Edward chasing after her into the rain, his voice lost in the storm. Vivian standing on a stage, tears in her eyes, her smile breaking through anyway. Edward alone in his penthouse, the city sprawling endlessly beneath him, his reflection fractured in the glass. The music swells into an orchestral explosion, drums pounding like thunder. We see them face to face once more, their silhouettes framed by headlights in the rain-soaked street. Neither moves. The world blurs around them, cars passing, lights flashing, but they remain frozen, locked in a moment that has waited decades to arrive. The voiceover rises with the storm. They had one chance. They let it go. Now the world will watch as they decide if love can last a lifetime. Suddenly, silence. The screen cuts to black. Out of the darkness, Julia's laugh echoes again, soft, warm, unforgettable. Then the strings return, this time swelling into the opening notes of "Oh, Pretty Woman," reimagined as a powerful orchestral score. The visuals explode in quick succession. Vivian running through a crowd, her gown flowing behind her. Edward slamming his hand down on a contract, refusing to sign. A kiss almost happening, but cut away at the last second. Vivian turning sharply, her earrings catching the light. Edward shouting in the rain, his silhouette illuminated by headlights. Vivian whispering something unheard, but her lips tremble as she says it. The music crashes, triumphant and full. On screen, in bold golden letters, "Pretty Woman 2", the letters fade, replaced by the year, 2025. As the title lingers, the tagline appears beneath it, glowing softly, "Some fairy tales never fade." The screen holds for a moment. Then in the final beat, a close-up of Vivian's heels stepping onto the curb. The music drops. The sound of the iconic guitar riff from "Oh, Pretty Woman" cuts through, playful and familiar. The screen slams to black end,